They told Sergeant Maya Chen she'd never make it as a sniper because her hands shook under pressure. But when enemy forces had a clear shot at General Mitchell from 1,200 yards away, those same shaky hands were about to make the most impossible shot in military history. Meet Maya Chen, 26 years old, dark brown eyes that could spot movement at distances that would challenge most spotting scopes, black hair that she kept regulation short, and hands that trembled just enough to make her instructors question everything about her potential as a precision marksman. She stood 5 feet 7 inches tall, weighed 140 pounds, and could consistently hit targets at 800 yards when no one was watching. But the moment pressure mounted, the moment instructors started timing her shots or evaluating her performance under stress conditions, those steady hands would develop what looked like a nervous tremor. It wasn't fear. Emma had never been afraid of anything in her life. It was something else entirely, something deeper and more frustrating than simple nervousness. Her grandfather, Robert Anderson, had been a legendary marksman in the Korean War. He'd taught Maya to shoot when she was 8 years old, starting with a .22 rifle in the woods behind their family farm in rural Oregon. By the time she was 16, she could drop a running deer at 400 yards with iron sights. Her grandfather always said she had the gift, an intuitive understanding of wind, distance, and timing that couldn't be taught. "Shooting isn't about the equipment, Maya," he'd tell her during those long afternoons on the range they'd built behind the barn. "It's about becoming one with the rifle, understanding that the bullet is an extension of your intention. When you truly need to make the shot, your body will know what to do." Robert Anderson had died when Maya was 19, just months before she enlisted in the Army. She joined specifically to become a sniper, to honor his memory and prove that his teachings lived on through her. But 3 attempts at sniper school had ended in failure, each time for the same reason: performance anxiety that manifested as visible hand tremor during qualification exercises. "Chen, you've got natural talent," Staff Sergeant Johnson had told her after her 3rd failure. But sniping isn't just about talent. It's about nerves of steel, consistency under pressure, and the ability to take a life without hesitation when the mission demands it. Your hands shake every time we put you under evaluation conditions. In the field, that shake could mean the difference between mission success and friendly casualties. Maya had accepted the judgment reluctantly. She'd been reassigned to a regular infantry unit stationed at Fort Phoenix in eastern Afghanistan, where she served as a designated marksman, good enough to provide precision fire support for her squad, but not elite enough to be called a true sniper. For 2 years, she'd carried that disappointment like a weight in her chest. Every morning when she cleaned her M14 enhanced battle rifle, she remembered her grandfather's lessons and wondered if she'd somehow failed to inherit the complete version of his gift. That changed on a Tuesday morning in October when everything went catastrophically wrong. Fort Phoenix was hosting a high-level diplomatic meeting between American military leadership and local Afghan officials. General Patricia Mitchell, the highest-ranking female officer in theater and architect of the region's most successful counterinsurgency operations, had arrived the previous evening for talks that could determine the future of American involvement in the region. Maya was assigned to perimeter security, positioned on the observation tower that provided overwatch for the main compound. It was routine duty, boring even. The meeting was taking place in the secure conference room, surrounded by multiple layers of security. The biggest threat anyone expected was an improvised explosive device on one of the access roads. At 0847 hours, Maya noticed movement in the hills approximately 1,200 yards northeast of the compound. Through her spotting scope, she could see what appeared to be 2 figures in concealed positions, but the distance and terrain made positive identification difficult. "Tower base, overwatch," she radioed to the command center. "I've got possible movement in Sector 7, approximately 1,200 yards northeast. Unable to confirm hostile intent." "Overwatch tower base. Keep monitoring. Report any changes." Emma adjusted her scope and continued observing. The figures appeared to be setting up some kind of equipment, but the distance and camouflage made details impossible to distinguish. Then, the morning sun shifted slightly, and Emma caught a brief glint of reflected light. the unmistakable flash of optical glass. Her blood went cold. Sniper scope. Tower Base, Overwatch. I have confirmed hostile sniper team in Sector 7, distance 1,200 yards. They have optical equipment and appear to be setting up for a shot on the compound. Overwatch Tower Base, are you certain? We have no intelligence suggesting sniper threats in that sector. Emma watched through her scope as one of the figures adjusted what was clearly a rifle with a high-powered scope. The weapon's barrel was pointed directly toward the conference room where General Harrison was meeting with the diplomatic team. Tower Base, I am positive. Hostile sniper team is in position and appears to have line of sight on the conference room. The radio crackled with urgent voices as the command center tried to process this information. Emma could hear multiple conversations happening simultaneously, someone calling for immediate evacuation of the conference room, another voice requesting confirmation of the threat, a third person trying to coordinate a response team. But Emma was doing calculations in her head, and the numbers were terrifying. The hostile sniper position was perfectly concealed in terrain that would take a ground team at least 20 minutes to reach. The conference room had large windows facing northeast, windows that provided a clear shot for anyone positioned in those hills. And most critically, General Mitchell was scheduled to give a presentation that would require her to stand directly in front of those windows in approximately 10 minutes. Tower Base, Overwatch. Recommend immediate displacement of the conference. Hostile sniper has clear line of sight on presentation area. Overwatch, we're working on it. Stand by. Emma kept her scope trained on the hostile position. Through the powerful optics, she could see the enemy sniper making final adjustments to his rifle and scope. His partner appeared to be working with range-finding equipment and wind measurement tools. These weren't amateur insurgents. They were professional marksmen who had planned this operation carefully. Her radio crackled again. Overwatch Tower Base, we have a problem. General Harrison is refusing to postpone the presentation. She says moving the conference would send the wrong message to our Afghan allies and undermine weeks of diplomatic progress. She's going ahead as scheduled. Emma felt her stomach drop. Tower Base, with respect, the general doesn't understand the threat. The hostile sniper team has a perfect shot. They're professionals with high-end equipment. Overwatch, message has been relayed. General Mitchell acknowledges the risk but considers the diplomatic implications more important than personal safety. She's proceeding with the presentation. Through her scope, Emma could see the hostile sniper had completed his setup. The rifle was now aimed directly at the conference room, and the shooter was settling into his final position. In 8 minutes, General Mitchell would stand in front of those windows and become the most important target of the war. Emma looked at her own rifle. The M14 enhanced battle rifle was accurate out to 800 yards under ideal conditions, but 1,200 yards was beyond its effective range. Even if she could somehow compensate for the extreme distance, the environmental factors made the shot nearly impossible. She would be shooting uphill at a concealed target, across terrain that included multiple wind patterns and atmospheric disturbances. But her grandfather's voice echoed in her memory. When you truly need to make the shot, your body will know what to do. Tower Base, Overwatch. I need authorization to engage the hostile sniper team. Overwatch negative. You're outside effective range of your weapon system. A counter-sniper team is being mobilized, but they won't be in position for another 15 minutes. Tower Base. In 15 minutes, General Mitchell will be dead. The radio was silent for several seconds. Then, Overwatch, do you believe you can make the shot at that distance with your current weapon? Emma looked through her scope again. The hostile sniper was now in his final firing position, rifle steady, waiting for his target to appear. She began calculating windage, elevation, and bullet drop for a 1,200-yard shot with a rifle that was designed for 800-yard engagements. The mathematics were brutal. At that distance, her bullet would drop nearly 30 feet from its initial trajectory. The wind was gusting from multiple directions due to the mountainous terrain. The target was partially concealed and would present only a small portion of his body for engagement. Under normal circumstances, the shot would be impossible. But these weren't normal circumstances. Tower Base, I can make the shot. Another pause. Overwatch, You are authorized to engage at your discretion. Take the shot if you have it. Emma began her final preparations. She adjusted her scope for maximum elevation, though she knew the rifle's optics weren't designed for this extreme range. She observed wind patterns by watching grass movement at various distances between her position and the target. She calculated bullet drop using formulas her grandfather had taught her 20 years ago on a homemade range in Montana. Most importantly, she steadied her breathing and tried to calm the tremor that had ended her sniper school career 3 times. 5 minutes until General Mitchell's presentation. Emma settled into her shooting position. The hostile sniper was approximately 1,200 yards away, positioned behind sparse cover that left portions of his upper body exposed. She would have 1 shot, maybe 2 if she was incredibly lucky, before he detected her position and either returned fire or relocated. She centered her crosshairs on the target and began the breathing sequence her grandfather had taught her. Deep breath in, let half out, hold. Let her heart rate slow. Feel the rifle become an extension of her body. Her hands started to shake. The tremor that had plagued her throughout sniper school returned with a vengeance. The crosshairs wavered across the target as her hands betrayed her under pressure. Every instinct told her to take the shot quickly before the shake got worse, but her grandfather's training went deeper than instinct. "The shake isn't your enemy, Emmy," she could hear his voice saying. "The shake is your body's way of telling you that you're trying too hard. Stop fighting it, accept it, work with it instead of against it." Emma stopped trying to eliminate the tremor and instead began timing it. The shake had a rhythm, a subtle oscillation that repeated every few seconds. If she could time her shot to coincide with the natural pause in the tremor, she might be able to compensate for the involuntary movement. 4 minutes until the presentation. Through her scope, she could see the hostile sniper making his own final preparations. His rifle was now perfectly aligned with the conference room windows. He was waiting for his target to appear. Emma began timing her breathing to match the rhythm of her hand tremor. Breathe in during the shake, exhale during the pause, hold during the moment of stillness. It was a technique her grandfather had never taught her, because he'd never experienced the tremor himself, but Emma was discovering it through pure necessity. 3 minutes. The hostile sniper shifted slightly, adjusting his position for comfort during what would probably be a lengthy wait. The movement gave Emma a slightly better view of his upper torso. Not much, but enough to provide a more defined target area. She calculated windage 1 more time. The wind had shifted slightly in the past few minutes, now coming more directly from the west. That would push her bullet to the right, requiring additional compensation in her aim point. 2 minutes. Emma's radio crackled. "Overwatch Tower Base. General Mitchell is moving to the presentation area. Time is critical." Through her scope, Emma could see the hostile sniper tensing slightly. His target would be appearing soon, and he was preparing for his shot. The conference room windows were clearly visible from Emma's position, large plate glass panels that would provide no protection against a high-powered rifle round. 1 minute. Emma made her final adjustments. She moved her point of aim several feet to the left and down to compensate for wind drift and bullet drop at the extreme range. She controlled her breathing, working with the natural rhythm of her hand tremor instead of fighting against it. 30 seconds. Movement in the conference room. Through the windows, Emma could see figures moving around inside. General Harrison would be taking her position at the presentation lectern in moments. Emma centered her crosshairs on the hostile sniper's position and began her final breathing sequence. The tremor in her hands was still there, but she was no longer fighting it. Instead, she was riding it like a wave, waiting for the natural moment of stillness that occurred between oscillations. 15 seconds. The hostile sniper was now completely motionless, finger on trigger, waiting for his target. Emma could see General Mitchell approaching the windows through her peripheral vision, but she kept her focus entirely on the enemy marksman who was about to take the most important shot of the war. 10 seconds. Emma felt her body settle into perfect stillness. The tremor paused as she had learned it would, for exactly the length of time it took to squeeze a trigger smoothly. Her grandfather's voice whispered in her memory, "When you truly need to make the shot, your body will know what to do." 5 seconds. General Mitchell stepped into view at the conference room windows, exactly where the hostile sniper had anticipated. Emma could see the enemy marksman's finger beginning to tighten on his trigger. Emma fired. The shot broke exactly as she'd planned during the brief moment when her hands were perfectly steady. The rifle recoiled against her shoulder, and she immediately worked the bolt to chamber another round while keeping her scope trained on the target area. At 1,200 yards, it took the bullet nearly 2 seconds to reach its destination. 2 seconds during which General Mitchell stood exposed at the windows, completely unaware that her life hung in the balance. 2 seconds during which Emma held her breath and prayed that 20 years of her grandfather's training would prove sufficient for an impossible shot. The bullet struck the hostile sniper center mass exactly where Emma had aimed. Through her scope, she saw him collapse backward, his rifle falling forward out of the concealed position. His partner immediately began shouting and trying to locate the source of the incoming fire. "Target down!" Emma reported into her radio. "Hostile sniper neutralized, but there's still a spotter in the position." She quickly shifted her aim to the second figure, but he was already moving, trying to escape the position while dragging his wounded partner. Emma fired again, but the extreme range and moving target made the second shot much more difficult. She saw dirt kick up near the target, indicating a near miss. The spotter disappeared behind cover, abandoning the wounded sniper and fleeing toward deeper terrain. Emma kept her scope trained on the area for several more minutes, but no further threats materialized. Overwatch Tower Base, outstanding shooting. How copy on hostile status? Tower Base, Overwatch. 1 hostile sniper confirmed down, 1 spotter fled the area. Threat to the conference is neutralized. Within minutes, a quick reaction force was moving toward the hostile position to confirm the kill and search for intelligence. Emma remained at her post, providing overwatch while her hands finally stopped shaking. 20 minutes later, the radio crackled with confirmation. Overwatch QRF leader. Hostile sniper is KIA, single gunshot wound center mass. Distance from your position to target is confirmed at 1,247 yards. We're recovering a high-end sniper rifle and professional-grade optics. This was a sophisticated assassination attempt. Maya felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. She'd made a shot that should have been impossible with equipment that wasn't designed for the range, under pressure that had caused her to fail sniper school 3 times. An hour later, General Mitchell herself climbed the observation tower to speak with Maya personally. "Sergeant Chen," the general said, "I understand you made an extraordinary shot today that may have saved my life." "Ma'am, I was just doing my job." General Mitchell studied Maya carefully. 1,247 yards with an M14. "My advisors tell me that shot was beyond the effective range of your weapon system. How did you compensate for the extreme distance?" Emma thought about her grandfather's lessons, about years of hunting in the Montana wilderness, about learning to work with her body's natural rhythms instead of fighting them. "Ma'am, my grandfather taught me that shooting is about understanding your equipment and your environment, but most importantly, it's about understanding yourself. When the mission required it, my body knew what to do." "I've reviewed your military record, Sergeant. 3 attempts at sniper school, all unsuccessful due to performance under pressure. Yet today, under the ultimate pressure, you made the shot of a lifetime. How do you explain that?" Maya had been wondering the same thing. "Ma'am, I think the difference is that today the shot wasn't about me. It wasn't about proving myself or passing a test. It was about protecting someone who needed protection. When the mission becomes bigger than your personal concerns, everything else falls into place." General Mitchell nodded thoughtfully. "Sergeant Chen, how would you feel about a 4th attempt at sniper school? I suspect your instructors might view your application differently now." Maya felt her heart skip. "Ma'am, I appreciate the offer, but I've made peace with not being a sniper. Today was unique circumstances. Sergeant, today you demonstrated the fundamental quality that separates good marksmen from legendary snipers, the ability to perform under absolute pressure when lives depend on your skill. The tremor you experienced during training wasn't a weakness. It was your body's way of telling you that the artificial pressure of evaluation didn't match the real pressure of combat. The general paused, looking out toward the hills where Emma had made her impossible shot. The best snipers aren't machines, Sergeant. They're human beings who can transcend their limitations when the mission demands it. Your grandfather would be proud. 3 weeks later, Maya received orders to report to the U.S. Army Sniper School at Fort Benning for a 4th attempt at qualification. This time, the instructors knew exactly who she was and what she'd accomplished. Staff Sergeant Johnson, who had failed her 3 previous attempts, met her at the armory on her first day. "Chen," he said, "I've read the after-action report from Fort Phoenix. 1,247 yards with an M14 to save a general's life. That's the kind of shot that gets written about in training manuals." "Staff Sergeant, I'm here to learn, not to talk about past missions." Johnson nodded approvingly. "Good attitude, but I want you to understand something. The tremor that caused you to fail before, we're not going to try to eliminate it. We're going to teach you to master it. Turns out there's a difference between perfection and effectiveness." Maya's 4th attempt at sniper school was different in every way from her previous 3. Instead of trying to conform to a standardized model of sniper behavior, her instructors worked with her unique physiology and shooting style. They taught her advanced techniques for managing stress responses, breathing methods that incorporated natural body rhythms, and most importantly, they put her in scenarios where the mission mattered more than the evaluation. She graduated 2nd in her class with a specialty notation for extreme range precision shooting. 6 months later, Staff Sergeant Maya Chen was deployed to Syria as part of an elite sniper team supporting Special Operations Forces. Her call sign was steady, not because her hands never shook, but because she had learned to find steadiness within the shake. Over the next 2 years, she would make 27 confirmed kills at ranges averaging 900 yards, including 3 shots beyond 1,000 yards that saved the lives of American and Allied forces. Her longest confirmed kill was 1,389 yards, a shot that eliminated a high-value target who was coordinating attacks against refugee camps. But Maya never forgot the lesson she'd learned on that observation tower in Afghanistan. The tremor in her hands wasn't a weakness to be overcome. It was a part of who she was, and learning to work with it instead of against it had made her not just a sniper, but the right sniper for missions that required more than mechanical precision. Her grandfather's lessons had been incomplete, she realized. He'd taught her that shooting was about becoming one with the rifle, but he'd never experienced the kind of pressure that comes with modern military operations. Emma had to learn the final lesson herself, that true marksmanship isn't about eliminating human limitations, but about transcending them when it matters most. 5 years after her impossible shot at Fort Phoenix, Master Sergeant Maya Chen was invited to speak at the U.S. Army Sniper School graduation ceremony. She stood before a class of new snipers, many of whom had heard the legend of the 1,247-yard shot that started her career. "Some of you probably think that being a sniper means being perfect," she told them, "that you need steady hands, nerves of steel, and the ability to perform like a machine under pressure. That's not true." She paused, looking at the faces of the new graduates, young soldiers who reminded her of herself 8 years earlier. Being a sniper means understanding that perfection is less important than effectiveness. It means learning to work with your body and mind exactly as they are, not as you think they should be. And most importantly, it means remembering that our job isn't to be perfect soldiers, it's to protect the people who can't protect themselves. Emma looked toward the hills beyond the training range, remembering a grandfather who'd taught her to shoot in the Montana wilderness, and a moment on an observation tower when everything he'd taught her had come together to save a life. "When the mission truly matters," she continued, "your body will know what to do. Trust it." After the ceremony, a young female soldier approached Maya nervously. "Ma'am, I'm having trouble with the stress shooting. My hands shake during evaluations, and I'm worried I might not make it through the program." Maya smiled, remembering her own struggles with the same problem. "What's your name, soldier?" "Private Rodriguez, ma'am." "Private Rodriguez, let me tell you something about shaky hands." And she did. Because Maya Chen had learned that sometimes the best teachers are the ones who've had to overcome their own limitations, and that the most impossible shots are made not by perfect soldiers, but by imperfect ones who refuse to quit when it matters most. The tremor that had once been her greatest weakness had become her greatest strength, because it had taught her that real precision comes not from mechanical perfection, but from human determination to protect others, no matter the cost. Her grandfather would have been proud. If you like this video, you can subscribe to see more incredible stories like this one.